Hello, I'm Jeff Van Treese, and this is Mobilized News. We welcome you to our show as we have Howard Bloom back on the program. Howard is a legendary publicist and science communicator whose career spans multiple decades. He worked in the publicity. He started the Howard Bloom organization, which became one of the top publicity firms in the 1970s and 80s. Howard represented some of the top talent and music in music and entertainment, including Michael Jackson, Prince, Barbra Streisand, Joan Jett, among others. And since that time, he's gone into becoming a science futurist, as he calls himself, looking at scientific advancements as a way to essentially save the planet and save humankind from what we're looking at right now, which is a potential disaster. So, Howard, thank you so much for joining us today.
Jeff, it's a pleasure to see you. Let me just make some corrections. So I actually started in science. I started in microbiology and theoretical physics at the age of 10 and started compiling scientific achievements of minor kinds at the age of 12. And then came up with a theory of the beginning, middle, and end of the universe that predicted something that wouldn't be discovered for another 38 years when I was 16 and working at the world's largest cancer research facility. And it's called The Big Bagel, and you can find it online. It's a simple little 5-minute animation anytime you want. But I was interested in the rapturous experience, the transcendent experience, the ecstatic experience. And the music I was listening to was Vivaldi and Beethoven and Bartók and Stravinsky. And I accidentally landed in precisely the land, well, I called this the gods inside of us, is what I was searching for. And I accidentally landed in the land where the gods are, in a field I had known nothing about, and it was rock and roll music.
That is such a fascinating story, and it really shows how we can do multiple things, and you certainly excelled in multiple areas. And one of the things I always like to say, because I know you did science fair as a kid growing up, and it led to your great career as a scientist and science communicator. As I've said on the show a few times, I'm a former high school science fair coach, and it just warms my heart to see that. So
amazing. Well, I was such an outsider that I didn't even have science fairs. My mom schlepped me off to a meeting when I was 12 years old with the head of the graduate physics department at the local university, the University of Buffalo. And you would think, what in the world is a guy who's working with grad students? What does he want to have to do with a 12-year-old, for God's sakes? And I would imagine that my mom twisted all kinds of arms in order to get me in there. And it was going to be a 5-minute courtesy meeting. And we spent an hour in there. My mom wondered what the hell had happened to us. But the hottest issue of that year was Big Bang versus steady state theory of the universe. And Fred Hoyle, who was behind steady state theory, was absolutely certain that was the year he was going to demolish George Gamow and Big Bang theory. And the world would never hear of Big Bang theory again. So that was the hottest issue in science. And the two of us were discussing the interpretation of the Doppler shift on which all of this hinged for an hour.